Hey folks, this is Mike from The Quality Sportsman. Last weekend I shot a DMR designated marksman style match and I did pretty well, so I wanted to tell you about it. Today we're checking out the gear and the process that I use to be successful. Let's go. All right folks, before we get into it, I ask that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing and it helps me to continue to grow the channel and bring you good content each week. We focus on long range and tactical shooting techniques and gear reviews. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit that like button as well. Thanks. All right, folks. Well, last Saturday, I had the pleasure of shooting the Rifle Crusher match at VOD Tactical here in Western North Carolina. That was an awesome DMR style match. If you've watched my channel before, you know that I love the DMR style shooting. What is a DMR? DMR is a designated marksman rifle. It is more of a concept than one specific thing, but it's a concept that infantry platoons have employed for a long time for a longer range semi-automatic rifle that bridges the gap between the standard infantry rifle and the snipers. DMR matches are becoming more and more popular because they're a lot of fun. They usually give you the opportunity to shoot your gas gun out to longer range. This match went out to 700 yards, which was really awesome. Some DMR style matches are a two-gun match because to be a proficient designated marksman, you should also be good with a pistol. You're usually carrying around a heavier gun. You may have to do some shorter engagements, if you're going house to house or things like that. It's always good to have a sidearm in case your primary weapon fails. However, this match this past weekend was simply a rifle only match. So that gave us the opportunity to worry just about our rifle shooting and have a good time stretching our skills and testing ourselves with rifle only. Now, another fun thing for this match for me was that I had the pleasure of shooting it with Ray from the X-Ring. If you haven't seen his channel, very informative channel that he's been running for about 5 years. That's where I learned a lot of my long-range shooting skills from. Go ahead and check that out. I'll drop a link down below. I had the pleasure of shooting it with Ray, and I've known him for a few months now. He's a very awesome guy, very effective long-range shooter. He won top position. He won first place in this match in the open category, even shooting a 5.56. So that was really awesome. I got to see a lot of what he talks about put into practice and see how much faster he was than the main part of the group. But for this match, I came in 4th place. I shot really well, but unfortunately on one stage, I did have some malfunctions that kept me from finishing the stage. I think I could have finished in 3rd place on the podium if I didn't have those malfunctions. I'll get a little bit more into that when we talk about the gear. So before we get to the match footage, I really just want to quickly run through the gear that I used. Most, if not all of this gear, I have already reviewed in depth. If it is a piece of gear that I've reviewed in depth, I'll drop a link to the video down below so that if you're interested in that, you can see my thoughts on that piece of gear in more detail and why I'm using it for this type of match. Okay, so the first thing is the first piece of gear that I use before the match ever even starts, and that is while I'm developing a load and getting my gun chronoed. This is the Garmin Zero C1 chronograph. It's a small Doppler radar, and it's a pretty awesome little unit that helps you get the speed of your bullets. I'm hand loading my cartridges for this for the 6 Max that I'm using, which I'll get into here in a bit. And that enables me to, while I'm just zeroing my gun the week before the match, to pop that open and get an accurate muzzle velocity for the load that I'm developing. Let's see, I got one right here. For this match, I'm not sure if you can see that. For this match, I'm shooting a 6 Max, and I loaded a 90 grain Lapua Sanar with about 28.2 grains of tack in the 6 Max case. And that's what I was shooting. That runs about 29-30 feet per second, and that's a 90 grain bullet. And this is in the standard AR-15 design. So I really love the 6 Max. I love the load that I worked up, but my data would be nothing without that chronograph. So that's the first piece. Once you have the chrono, then I use my trusty Kestrel here. This is the 5700 Elite ballistics model, which has applied ballistics on it. This is a very handy tool that helps you basically, I use this as my range card as I'm ranging all the different targets for each stage. I have all my gun profile data put into here, and I am, putting in the exact yardage for each target to get my exact, mil hold or dial. for each. So this is a crucial piece of equipment. There are other methods to do it. Speaking of ranging targets, I have my Leopold BX4 range binos. These are another really piece of awesome gear, and they actually do have a ballistics calculator integrated in them, but I haven't learned that yet. I'm still leaning on my Kestrel because I'm comfortable with that. This helps you get environmentals, which will get you a little bit more accurate than if you're just running straight off of the data without the environmental factors considered. Okay, I'm also running my 6 Max. This is a custom built with a Sons of Liberty Gunworks barrel, 20-inch, that I got from BC Precision Ballistics, the inventor of the 6 Max. Again, this is the AR-15. This is not an AR-10, and I can run that 6mm bullet, the 90-grain bullet, at a little over 2,900 feet per second. Which comes in handy. It helps for those longer range shots. I get pushed around less by the wind. And for this match, there was even a spinner, and I was able to spin that in maybe 4 shots compared to 5.56, which can take some folks upwards of 8 to 10 shots to get that thing spinning. So I love this gun. I did have some problems with it, and that is 100% my own fault. I shot this suppressed a couple months back. I didn't clean it after. I assumed I'd cleaned it. Halfway through the match, it got gunked up to where it wasn't, the bolt wasn't coming all the way to the rear smoothly, and I was getting some double feeds because of that. The round wasn't cleanly ejecting, and it wasn't cleanly picking up the next round. So that really bit me on one stage. That's no fault of the gun or the 6 Max. That was my own oversight by not, cleaning that gun as much as I should have, just giving it a wipe down. So halfway through the match, I had the opportunity to take this apart, pull a lot of carbon off of it, and it ran flawlessly for the rest. The only downside of this is if you watch my 6 Max video, it only, right now, you can only find 20 round mags. It is a 350 Legend parent case, so you have to find Duramag 20 round mags. I had to do a few extra mag changes compared to if I had a 30 round mag. The good news is the 20 round mags are a little bit shorter, so when you're doing a lot of barricade or tactical style shooting, you have a little bit more clearance there to get your gun up on that barricade and not run into the mag. Again, the 6 Max is really awesome. I felt very effective out to 700 yards. I'll talk a little bit more about the shooting here in a second, but when I was steady, when I had my holdover correct, I was hitting that 700-yard target very easily, even as the wind kicked up later in the afternoon. If you go watch Ray's video for the same match, you'll see that he did have to start considering wind towards the end of the day. I just held straight up and my impacts were well within the center range of the target. Okay, so that's it for the gear. Again, the star of the show was that 6 Max.
Cheap bastard, them fancy caliber.
My own fault for not maintaining it as well as I should have. That's a lesson learned. I know better. Sometimes we're not always doing the things we should or that we know we should. But that 6 Max was spot on. Those 90-grain bullets hit really hard. It was easy for me to spot my impacts. It was easy for me to see where they were hitting on the target, so I could adjust off of that. And again, like I said, the wind was not, pushing me around as much as some of the other folks. It is a protective range that we're shooting at, but the wind still can come in and push that bullet around, especially if you're shooting 55 or even the 77 grain 5.56. So let's go ahead and get into the shooting. Overall, it was 6 stages. They were supposed to have a 120-second par time each. However, there was a bottleneck moving through some of the stages for the second half of the day, so they cut that down to 90 seconds to move folks along faster. Now, I was able to finish every single stage in time, even in the shorter 90-second par time, except for the one stage that I had those double feeds on. So that's unfortunate. I took a huge penalty by missing a bunch of targets. I think I ended up getting 150 seconds on that stage with the penalties. Everything else, I believe I was able to finish well under 90 seconds or within the 60 to 80 second range. Now, I understand that's kind of arbitrary to you, but let's go ahead and look at some of the footage. Let's go ahead and look at the first stage. Now, again, for these DMR style matches, you are going to have to hold over. There is not enough time to dial. This first stage was very interesting. The targets weren't too far out there, but it wasn't just near to far or far to near. It was kind of back and forth. So there was about a 100 to 150 yard target. And sorry guys, I should have done this video a little bit earlier. I'm kind of forgetting the exact yardages, but you'll see in the video that we're getting pretty close. So there's about a 100-yard target, one back at 290, a couple in the mid twos and high 100s, and then one back at 380 or 390. And we had to run those 5 targets through from 4 different positions on the log. Now, luckily I've shot this log before, and the log is tricky because it's so round. You really have to think through your positioning. And if you have a long magazine, you're not going to be able to get your gun up on that. I see a lot of guys struggle with just trying to set the tip of their 16-inch barrel on there. As you know, if you put pressure on the barrel and not the handguard itself, you risk moving your point of impact as you flex that barrel. So that is something that you really don't want to do. So learning how to get low, get on that log, and kind of like the frog squat, double kneeling position, since I'm a bigger guy, was critical to the stage. And I did have some misses. Another thing is for DMR style matches, you really want to run these stages with as little magnification as you can, because as you're moving from target to target a lot, the further zoomed out you are, although it will be harder to see your target, to see your holds, and to see your splashes if you're missing, you will have a much quicker time acquiring your target. So I was trying to run with as little magnification as I can. I forgot to mention my scope. I'm running the Athlon Cronus, which is a 4.5 to 29 scope, and I really like this thing. Most of the day I was running it on 8X actually. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first stage. You'll see that I put the target overlay. I know you can't see all the way down range, especially at 400 yards or so, where the furthest target is. So I put those to track the hits, and let's go ahead and see how I did.
Nice. Why did you shoot all 4 of them like that? Good job. 86-64. All right. Good time.
All right, now on to stage 2. Stage 2 was another fun one. There was a KYL, a Know Your Limits, which is generally a set of square plates from 2 inches all the way to 10 inches, 5 different targets. By the time I went up to shoot this, the 2-inch target had been shot off by somebody, or by everybody, I guess. So we were shooting the 4-inch target twice, and that posed its own challenge because with the extra kinetic energy, it took a while for that plate to stop flopping and reset. So you'll see a couple times I'm trying to gun that thing down and not hitting, and you're wondering, Mike, how can you not hit this thing? It's only at 75 yards. Well, that target was flailing around wildly, and I was trying to get a hit so I can move on to the next one. So that we thought at first that would be easier because the smaller plate was gone, but it was actually harder to hit the same one twice before moving on, since after you hit it the first time, it's flopping around there. So there was the KYL, you had to shoot each one twice through. Then there was a second target array between 320 and 350 yards, 3 different targets. You had to shoot that twice through. And then there was a single full IPSC target at 450, and you had to shoot that twice, and that was your that was your last target. Now, technically, you could shoot this in any order, and you could shoot any target array from any 3 positions, which were prone on the shooting mat, anywhere touching the post, that could be prone, kneeling, or standing, and modified prone on the table. Now, I kind of made an error on this one, and I overestimated my ability to be stable side leaning on the post with a C-clamp grip from the kneeling position. So I chose to shoot the KYL from the prone and then go to the kneeling on the post to shoot the 350-yard target array, and then go to the table modified prone to shoot the 450-yard target. However, you'll see towards the end of my kneeling progression there, I could not hit that last target. I started to get a little tired on that position and a little unstable, and I was really struggling with stability. And as I found out, I wasn't as stable as I thought, so I ate up a few extra seconds on that middle position before I put the final shots from the prone, or the modified prone, in the table on that 450-yard target. I actually hit it a few extra times. I just sent a rapid fire burst down there and to stop the clock.
Burp when I'm shooting, Frank?
Cheap bastard, that fancy caliber. About damn time. Come on, wear it out. Plenty of time.
As you can see there, just like I said, a little bit of struggle with the kneeling, and this was probably one of my top lessons learned for this match, was really understand how stable you are in different positions. Try to get as low to the ground as possible and as many points of contact on the ground as possible. When I was in the infantry, we weren't necessarily concerned about this because you're with a whole platoon and it's more volume of fire. But as a designated marksman or shooting in a DMR match, things like that, you really need to understand which positions you can get in at any given time based on the barricades or the obstacles you have around you and how stable you'll be in those positions. Choosing a position not just based on what's available, but what you're best at is kind of like another capability set that you need to build to be an effective marksman, especially at long range, especially from shooting in these interesting positions. Okay, now on to the third stage. This stage, there was a little bit more flexibility in the rules, which they made clear after we all asked clarification multiple times. There were 4 different positions to shoot from, and there was an array of targets from 100 all the way out to 700 yards that you had to run through twice. Now, they didn't dictate how many targets you had to shoot from each position, except saying you had to shoot at a minimum from every position. So what folks are mostly choosing to do was shoot the first as a very skinny popper at about 75 yards from left side of the post, shoot the 100-yard target, I believe it was a circle, at 100 yards from the right side of the post, shoot the next target, which was the 300-yard IPSC from the barrel, and then go to the last position, the laid down barrel, and shoot the 4, 5, 6, and 700-yard targets, and then go back, and you had to shoot this whole array twice. So you'll see what I'm talking about here. This is, again, using the rules to your advantage, using stable positions to your advantage. So let's go ahead and see how I did on this one. So you get the feel that these types of matches, you see the same guys around, especially if you are shooting at your home range. And it's just a huge load of fun. Everybody's having a good time out there, encouraging each other and, you know, maybe breaking each other's balls every once in a while. So let's go ahead and see how I did on this one, shooting from 75 to 700 yards through twice from 4 different positions.
Make it fancy.
If you finish, you'll be good.
Okay, let's try. Let's try.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Because you guys get to see it.
Now, as you can see there, I had a little bit of a procedural hiccup that cost me some time. I believe once I went from the 3rd to the 4th position, I skipped the 400-yard targets. And I should have known something was up. I thought I was on the 400-yard target, and I was shooting the 500-yard target, and I had my hold, and I had a good stable position, a good trigger squeeze, and I could not spot my impact. And I think that's because I was, you know, probably a foot or so low based on you know, the extra 100 yards in my dope. So that was a miss. Thankfully, again, it said that everybody's trying to help each other out there. If they see you're just doing something blatantly wrong or gunning down a target and not spotting your own rounds, people are going to say, hey, you're on the wrong target. So they helped me get back on track. I went back to the 4. I shot the 5 again, which I guess I didn't need to do. Finished out with the 6 and 7 and then ran it through again. And that really just goes to show you that even though I shot this well, and even though I finished in the top 5 for this stage overall out of 60 people, there were still tons of time that I added to my score by having those procedural hiccups. If I had all of my dope in my head, if I made sure I was on the right target, I probably could have shaved another 20 seconds off of that. So that goes to show you that, you know, there's always a ton of room for improvement. You feel like you're shooting really fast, but then you go back and look at the video and you say, oh, I think there's some more time to make up there. Okay, so now we're gonna do something fun. I also have some footage from a friend of mine, Brian, who shot this match with me. He's shooting an AR-10 and 6.5 Creedmoor, which is really fun. He was having a good time out there. Brian is a really good shooter. If you go back a couple weeks and you find my Proving Grounds video, we weren't on the same squad then, unfortunately, but Brian won first in the intermediate division. He's a very good shooter. He was out here with this AR-10, kind of still figuring that gun out, and you know, having some interesting challenges with dope and trying to do some, you know, 6 Creedmoor, 6.5 Creedmoor math hacks on the clock. So he was having a good time. He's probably going to get mad that I'm putting us head to head on a stage that I beat him on. But again, this is 2 relatively good shooters. Again, this is myself and Brian going head to head, and you can just see how a little bit of efficiency ends up helping me finish before Brian. So let's go ahead and see how we both did on this stage. Again, this stage was back on the log. It was the same array of targets from 100 to 390. However, we were shooting them in reverse this time from a tank trap. So the tank trap is interesting. It's, we had to shoot, there were 3 different positions, 1 from each point on the tank trap. Each position on the tank trap is a little bit more wobbly than the other ones. So it doesn't really give you a super solid platform to lean on. You kind of have to create your own net neutral stability and make sure you're not pushing too hard into that thing so you don't just, tip it over and fall over. So this was a fun stage. Let's go ahead and see head to head how Brian and I did against each other. All right, now we're on to stage 5. Again, there were 6 stages total, so we're almost there. We're actually going to watch Brian shoot this whole stage by himself, no head-to-head. There first was a spinner, which if you've never shot a spinner, this is about kinetic energy and momentum. So you had to get the spinner to tip over. Again, this is where Brian gets a little bit of benefit for lugging that AR-10 around all day. I believe he was shooting 140 grain Hornady bullets on the loads that he developed, and with only a few shots he's able to get that spinner over, which is huge. A lot of folks shooting 5.56 will eat up a lot of time there. So you had to shoot that spinner from the prone and then move over to the table, and now we're shooting the same array that we shot from the last time we were at this position from the modified prone on the table, except it's grouped together. So instead of shooting the 300-yard targets and then the 450 separately, we had to shoot 3 targets that were about 320 to 350, and then a 4th target at 450, and we had to shoot that through 3 times and then put 1 finishing kill shot on the 700-yard target. Because I just had a stage full of double feeds, this is where I had some penalties and ate some time on the clock, just manually remediating those double feeds, which is really frustrating. The 6 Max spun the spinner very well. It only took me a few shots, but I spent so much time fixing the double feeds, even though I'm very confident shooting in the modified prone off the table, even out to 700 yards, I still left a few targets left on the table. So I did, eat some penalties. So let's go ahead and watch Brian. He shot this one really well. There's a lot of targets to shoot on the stage, and he got all the way up till the 700-yard targets. And I believe his dope wasn't quite where he expected it to be. So took a few shots and then the time ran out.
Same? Oh, my first ever.
When you're looking through a scope, it's hard.
Okay, good job, Brian. That was a very tough stage. Again, most people in these matches were not finishing, so even to get close to finishing a stage is pretty good, especially that's after we went to 90 seconds to, you know, push everybody through quicker, and these stages were designed for 120 seconds. So it got even more challenging as the day went on, which was actually a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and look at the final stage. We're gonna go back to me on this one. This was a Punisher stage. If you've shot with Frank at the Old Fort VOD TAC range, you know that he loves spinners and he loves Punishers. And I'll tell you what, I love them too. They're a lot of fun and they really stretch your skills. So what we had was a skinny popper in the ground at about 75 yards, a circle plate at 100 yards, and then there were IPSCs at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 700 yards. For a total of 9 targets. Now this stage, I started out a little flustered because I broke one of my rules, which is I didn't really plan out my positioning before I went up. You'll see that I underestimated how long the table was, and I put my bipod up and then I couldn't get my rear bag because my buttstock was hanging off the table. I tried to adjust, but I didn't put enough effort into it. I wasn't stable, and I missed that first 75-yard popper. Now that's not too hard to do because this thing is really skinny. If you just have a bad trigger squeeze, you know, you're off the target. So I immediately had to take a Punisher shot. Let's go ahead and see me fight through some challenges, but still shoot an overall effective stage.
Stand by.
Nicely done, Mike.
6, 7, 3, 4. Good job, buddy.
Again, I feel like I shot very well, and in my head I was shooting very fast, but as we go back and look at the footage, anybody can see that there's still some time to make up there. Again, I did come in overall 4th place, and that's very good for me. I'm excited that my shooting is getting better, and that really has to do with ironing out a lot of the mistakes that I would make over the course of a whole day. I feel like I'm finally shooting to my potential, so I'm excited for a few more upcoming matches this year that I'll get to show you how well I can do and see if I can hit that podium. So folks, that's it for this time. Again, I really encourage you to get out there and shoot a match. Even if you feel like you're not ready, that's okay. I wasn't ready when I first started, but this is truly the only way to get ready. Shooting a match, it's not for the glory. I mean, there really is none. It's not for the prizes. You're going to spend more than even if you win first, and you know, maybe there's a prize like a knife or something like that. But it's to validate your skills. It's to push yourself to shoot faster and more effectively, especially if you're a DMR shooter. Speed and efficiency are everything. So get out there, find a match at your local range. If you're in Western North Carolina, you know, practice score, look at Clinton House, South Carolina, or Old Fort Gun Range VOD TAC in North Carolina. There's matches there all summer, actually all through the winter as well. Get out, do some shooting. Let me know how you like this video. Again, go ahead and smash that like button if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time on The Quality Sportsman. Thanks.